everyone's an artist, like everyone has some
Hmm.
form of art inside of them, and it's a matter of just finding that belief in yourself or tapping into what that voice wants to say.
All right, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Creative Haven. I'm here with the Holden brothers, Nick and Josh, and they have a really cool production company here in Austin called Mishnoon. Did I say that right?
You
Hmm.
did. Got it. Yeah.
Awesome, Mishnoon Productions,
Yeah.
and it's awesome. It's like music videos and commercials and films, and they're so decorated, award winning, and extremely experienced. But I want to have them actually talk about their background, where they came from, and how they got to where they are today.
Well, I just want to first start off by saying thank you, Mitchell, and we're honored to be here. And you're such a generous person. Like
Oh,
I
thank
really
you.
admire that and appreciate that in you. Like it just comes across in who you are. So thank
Oh,
you.
I appreciate that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
thank you.
I mean, at the end of the day, it's like I'm just trying to get people to shine and tell their stories.
Cool. Yeah, if I could start, I'd say we just to keep it kind of brief, we were in Louisiana. That's where we were raised, Lafayette, Louisiana. Which, looking on it now, there is a really nice, you know, cultural scene there, and there's a great music scene, and there's some really good artists there. But growing up, we we didn't really know about it as much. We knew about it some, but as when we moved to Austin around 2002, we had as a good friend of our parents, and he was a musician. He had played with Christopherson, and he played with Bonnie Raitt, and he made basically from the time he was 19 till his whole life he was on the road as a musician. He was an actor, and he kind of took us under his wing, him and his wife, and they were like really. We started going to hear them play music all the time, and just getting to see your friends play great music, getting to watch, go to movie sets and watch people, because before growing up in Louisiana was always like, oh, well, you got to be in LA to make stuff. You got to be over there to make stuff. So, really getting to witness people do it really gave us a little bit of confidence to be like, oh, maybe we could actually do something or write a song or play something. So from there, we started, doing music and bands, and we really took the time to learn an instrument. But then, bands, music, did acting, and then Josh went to film school, and I did philosophy and literature at St. Edward's, and we were just writing. I mean, just really, Austin. It was 2002. It was a really neat time. It was like it was super cheap to live here. All our, there were a lot of just it was you could live, and
It was like $750 for a two-bedroom, two-bath on the Greenbelt.
Oh
yeah,
my
You
goodness.
know,
it was crazy, and there was shows every night. There was a cool
but it was crazy because like grew up in Louisiana, and movies seemed like a world away. That never seemed possible, and music seems like it was in Austin. So we
Hmm.
moved to Austin to play music, and we started acting. And as soon as we did that, ironically, Hollywood went to Louisiana.
Yeah.
And then they started making all these movies in Louisiana. And we were like, oh no, like
yeah.
we're in Austin now. And then they didn't pass the tax incentives over here in Texas. So all the movies kind of like had like left Texas for a while.
Oh, that's too
It,
bad because
But
I
now
know.
it's coming back.
Yeah.
Now it's coming back because like LA is coming to Austin. So now we're kind of like things are
yeah.
shifting again.
Hmm.
But it was cool. It was a cool time. There was a lot of, there's some just really great bands, and and there was a lot of actors here. There was a lot of actors. There were some good acting coaches, and a lot of them ended up leaving for Louisiana and Atlanta as the tax incentives went there. But at the time, it was just a very, just go have, jam sessions at people's apartments, playing guitar, making indie films, getting cameras, doing lots of improv. Like we'd go over to a friend's house and like improv for 45 minutes, just take the camera and getting characters, and just
Nice.
it was a cool time. There's a lot of
And there was this
here.
band, the Weary Boys. I don't know if you ever heard of them, but they're like just incredible musicians, and they would play in Louisiana whenever we were there. And so we would kind of like we'd see them play, and they were friends of friends. And so when we moved here, they had moved here as well. And then so they were living in the same place as Black Joe Lewis. So they taught Joe how to play guitar, and then Joe started a band, and me and Nick were in the band with Joe. And so it was Black Joe Lewis and the Holden brothers, and we would just be playing on like Dirty Sixth Street, and the bartender would be like blowing fire, and we were pretty terrible at first, but we just kind of like kept playing and having a blast with Joe. And then we had a godfather who was he plays with Willie. He's the harmonica player,
Nice.
Mickey Raphael, and him and Steven were close. They were kind of like the younger guys in the bands, where Steven was with Christopherson and Mickey was with Willie. And so we grew up going to these Willie shows our whole life, and sitting on amps at the Saxon Pub with Steven. And but we saw like, wow, like if you make it, you're on the road. It's kind of exhausting, like as a musician, like you're on the road nonstop, you're playing the same songs, the same guys. Like it's a luxury, it's incredible. What they're doing is like just good medicine for the world, sharing music and going around, especially Willie, like seeing that music, it's such a good vibes. But I think both of us were studying acting with this guy, Marco Perella, who's an incredible actor and coach. And he was just like yelling at us because we were terrible. And we had like zero emotion coming from Louisiana. Like we just been, I don't know, we didn't like know how to express our emotions at all. So that was like a 10-year process. And we lucked out and we found this woman, Dana Wheeler, who was an acting coach. She was in Tombstone. She plays Kurt Russell's wife. She's an incredible actress and coach. And so we ended up in her class with a group of people, like a small group of 5 or 6 people. And that was all like dream work. So that was like Jungian dream work. So we would do sense memory and study our dreams and just really dive deep. And that kind of shifted us from like wanting to be actors to wanting to write more. And so that's whenever we just put all of our focus where we were just like, we've just been writing a screenplay a year for the last like 10 years as we've been like still running our company the whole time to pay the bills, so that we didn't have to go back to shining shoes, which I was doing at Nordstrom's.
Wow. So I mean, I know you have a whole other, tail end to that story to where you are today. It's just really cool to hear your creative background, it's just from like, just music and acting and just now writing and then filmmaking and, all of that put together, just being a all around artist, and just not compromising on your passions in order for you to just live a fulfilled life. That's admirable, because a lot of people would look at that and say, oh man, I don't know if I can ever make it. How am I going to make money? How am I going to pay rent? But if you're passionate about it, you make it happen. And what you did, which was real smart, is that you created a company out of your passion, and you're able to shoot commercials and music videos. You got a digital series and won an award at a festival. So tell us more about that and how you were able to, just become these award-winning directors.
Yeah. Well, I'd say, one of the crazy things that happened was one of the guys I was talking about, he was, our parents were like, y'all need to, don't, stay in school, go get a master's degree. They were not like, go after your creative passions. Even though my mom we were born in LA because she had wanted to be an actress in LA. And so she tried to make it as an actress, and she ended up moving back to Louisiana to raise us around her family.
And she's full Lebanese. So she's like, darker skin, black hair. And so she says like whenever she was there in the early 80s, it was hard to get a role as well. So she kind of,
And she speaks pretty good. I mean, she speaks good English, but she definitely has like an accent, and her grandparents didn't speak any English. So she doesn't like to be an actress with, I think she just struggled some but so we always felt her frustration growing up as a kid. She was always like, man, I want to be an actress. She tried to do it in Louisiana.
She was doing some commercials in Lafayette. Yeah. She did like a popping locks. I mean, Pop a Lock commercial and some stuff like that.
Okay, that's good.
We cast her in our first short film, and she did great. She's actually good. Yeah. She was really good. Yeah.
And so we sensed that, and then our other 2 uncles here, they were like, are the ones that, they weren't blood uncles. They were like, he told me one day, he's like, look, life's short, man. You gotta do what you love. Like it's really, and that advice really hit us. And that was right when we were finishing up college. And I mean, I don't know. I don't know what else. Yeah, I don't know. It's just hard to imagine another path. But we just started filming some bands. Josh was making short films. I was like at school reading just tons of literature and studying philosophy, and we were living together, and we were just shooting stuff. And
you could live cheap back then too.
It was
You know,
really, it was
$1,000 a month.
yeah, exactly.
and it was
Ooh.
the time we had an interesting time. It was right when digital started, so there wasn't the like barriers to getting into this industry, and you just needed like a camera, and it wasn't that expensive. So we really, and there wasn't also like hundreds of people, with digital cameras. It was like we lucked out at this time. So it was like it felt like there was like an indie film scene just starting out in Austin. We were friends with a few of the directors, people. So we really lucked out. I felt like, whereas if we were to start that today, there's like, I mean, there's so many, there's so many companies here, and or there's so many people, at least with the camera, that want to shoot. So
I was going to say one thing too, for people who like want to break into that creativity, and they're like, one of the frustrations for us was like, we felt like we got a late start, like we didn't really start playing music and acting and like even pursuing that career. I mean, we would like draw when we were kids a lot, but like it didn't feel like we could be an artist, until we were like 18. And so that's when it began. And it was so frustrating for so long, because they say, it's like, if you want to master something, you spend 10,000 hours, right? Or something like that. Like, it's a certain amount of hours. And you're like, you see people succeeding and doing so well in their 20s, and you're like 21 years old, and you're like, how did they do that? And you're like, oh man, they've been playing guitar since they were like 9, like Julian Lange and these people. And so it was like, wow, okay, we got to put our time in, and we got to work hard at it while we build this company and build our craft. That's right. And then go and see our uncle play guitar, the sax. And it was like the most inspiring thing, and also the most uninspiring thing, because you leave and you're like, well, I'll never be that good. It's just like, what's the point? Like, why am I doing this? Like, I guess I'll just try. There's nothing else to do. Like, I have to express myself somehow, or else I'll lose my mind.
Yeah. And you know what else was cool? I'll say is like, we grew up and we loved Dazed and Confused when we were in high school.
Yeah.
And we moved to Austin, and like Richard Linklater was like just walking around town. He'd be at the Dolby movie theater at UT. He'd be like, he'd come to indie film screenings. And it was like, he cast us as featured extras in one of his things. And it was like, oh my God, there's the director of Dazed Confused. And we like watched that repeatedly in high school. So that got to be crazy, because you could see, we had known some musicians, but to see someone that actually made a movie, that was pretty life-changing. And to just see
he's like one of our favorites,
being a normal
directors.
Yeah, that was a crazy experience to come to Austin and like just see the film world, like see the indie film world. We started out just my first job out of college, they were like, asked me to help the two producers throw this big concert that the guy Steven we were talking about, our kind of like pseudo uncle, he was the musical director, and Bonnie Raitt was playing, and Christopherson and Doug McClin and a bunch of amazing local artists. And so I was like an intern, like a PA with the two producers, helping produce it, and we needed someone to film the B-roll. And Josh got hired to film the B-roll, and we just used that money to
buy a camera,
to get a camera, and just
instead of renting it, we were just like bought it and rented it.
And so we had that was our first camera. That was like 2008. We did the concert, we had a camera, and then we
that was the XHA1. Do you remember those? The Canons,
like the big guy. XHA1. Wow.
It's like mini DV.
Mini DVs.
Yeah.
Dude, I remember those days where you had to actually like record. You had a real time record
capture, log and capture.
Ooh.
Yeah, I know. And then we had like a Leadus adapter on the top. So you had like your camera, you had your Leadus adapter, and then you had a vintage lens on top of that. So your two focal points, and then like an ND filter, and then an FD, and then your f-stop on the lens. So it's like 40-pound camera.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah. And you can do it on your phone.
Yeah, and look much better.
And we did that show, and then that was like the beginning of our company. We kind of like we did like an LLC, and we kind of divided it, got like a little company bank account, and then we started. We got one gig. I don't know. We started just getting like commercials, but there was this one commercial. I forget. I think it was like a nonprofit or something, but that was the one thing. There were so many friends who were actors, or like in acting class, and so it'd be like, hey, you come and help us produce this, and then then UT has so many talented people coming out of school that that could run crew, that we just started doing little things. And
yeah, when we started out, we were just doing these $250 videos or $500 videos, or just kind of whatever we could get. And I do remember there were probably only 10 production companies in Austin, and I remember one of the bigger ones, the owner was just like, what the hell are y'all doing? Stop. Do not charge somebody that. Like, you have to charge more money than that. We're like, well, we just need the money. But and it was funny because go ahead.
I mean, I don't think there was a lot of companies that weren't having to use those huge, like there weren't a lot of production companies that didn't have to rent huge cameras.
Right.
And, this was like really the beginning of digital cameras. It was crazy.
Dang.
Yeah. And we were just working out of the garage, and like one of my best friends in film school, this guy, Danny, who's just this like super creative, brilliant, filmmaker guy who was working at Central Market, like the Central Market Cafe. And like, he is just such a lovable guy. He won over the owners of Fleshlight. They kept going there to eat, and they were just like, who is this guy? We love this guy. Like, who is this guy? And so Danny had came to us, and we were like just out of college. And he was like, yo, like, do you guys want to go pitch some videos to Fleshlight? And we're like, what's Fleshlight? This is like 2010. We had no clue. And so we like look it up, and we look at the website, and we're like, oh my God, like, no, dude, like it was just like a naked lady right there. And so we were like, no, man, we went to a Catholic school for 12 years. Like, we can't write home and say, hey mom, we made it. We're making Fleshlight videos.
Want to come on set?
Right.
We invited the priest on set. It worked out really well.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah. So we were like, all right. Well, he's like, dude, they're awesome people. Just come meet them. So we're like, all right. So we like literally cut a reel that day, based on like some music videos we had done. And like, we kind of like had grown our beards out a little bit, and maybe put on like a sports coat to try and look like we were a little older. We just like, we walk in this warehouse, and you're like on the east, you're on like the west of 290. We walk in it's like a warehouse, and you walk in, and it's just like
filled with flashlights.
Eastern, no, with the front building is just all Eastern religion, like tantric vibe.
Okay.
Like it's like they had imported all of these like beautiful tantric statues and like red walls and like wood, and you're just like, where are we? This is amazing. And there was a factory full of flashlights that we ended up touring after that, which was pretty funny. But so stop me if I run on too long with that.
No, I just can't believe you started with Fleshlight. That's like, people don't tell these stories of like where you started. And like, at the end of the day, you started with $250, $500 video. I remember doing that. I remember doing free videos. Yeah. And then like $100 videos. You get those videos where like, we'll pay you with food, and you're like, you know what?
Right.
I'm hungry. Let's just do it. But it's the hustle, man. Fleshlight. Hey, look, they're huge today. I mean, Joe Rogan had to take, I think, Fleshlight commercials on his podcast. So
because because we met him, and we never did anything. Like they tried to get us a couple times to go out to the ranch and film some stuff with women. We just passed on that every time. Because we were like, no, like we're just at a film school, and we're writers and directors, and so we had just pitched them some sketch comedy, and they were like, they were like great people. They were like the husband and wife, really awesome people, and they were like, here's the check that day. They're like, go make these sketch comedy things, and we were just like,
what?
Like, this is more money than we've ever seen. And so we went, and then decided to be like, you know what? Like, I think Nick was reading the New York Times every day, and Adidas had just made that web series. So like advertainment had just began. And so we went back, and we were like, pitched him the idea. We're like, dude, let's make a web series where, like, how do y'all come up with the Frankenstein Fleshlight? Like, let's have the two marketing guys who are in charge of Fleshlight essentially do a series about them.
We were like, it was entertaining. It was a family run company, and they had to take their job so serious, but the stuff they were creating, there was something like comedic about it. So we're just like, let's try an advertainment web series where let's try to make this mainstream. Let's try to make
and branding wise, that was what we were trying to do. We were like, let's make this where like some dude is in college, and a girl walks up, and he's watching this Fleshlight web series, and she laughs, and like that's your introduction to Fleshlight. not
Yeah.
some dude looking at the Fleshlight website and a girl walks up and she's like, "What are you doing?" Like
Right.
this is
Right.
It may have never worked. It may have been doomed.
yeah.
I mean,
And
we
they were trying to figure out if they were Playboy or Hustler at the time, and they
Mhm.
weren't sure. And we were trying to do something kind of PG, probably too PG for what they wanted, you know.
but it was interesting because we ran into the head of South by film competition. She's like, "Oh, I would love to like show some of this at South by because it's interesting. What are people that are trying to write indie films because we were writing nonstop. How are you making a living?
Yeah.
And that
Yeah.
kind of hit a crossroads for us where we were like, because we hired a writer from the Mishnoon Center, which is like a very prestigious writing school, and we really tried to make like a really nice web series about like like these two guys. One was a little more shy and one was a little more bossy. Like they're working together at the company and they
one takes everything
yeah.
too serious, the other doesn't take anything serious.
Yeah.
Type vibe.
A girl there that's like just
They fall in love with the janitor.
Yeah.
The girl.
Oh,
She's a
okay.
girl. Yeah.
yeah, it's like a nice. It's like, and then they're like they get in the. We're trying to make like a real like a cool, and we got some great actors. I mean, a lot of people I couldn't name them all because they might not be happy. Have went on to be like really like done really well. Just some great actors and people in our crew were, and we had like 40 people in our crew and
Nice.
like actors. Got to pay all the actors really well. Worked with and then it got into South by, but we kind of realized from there, like, man, that was putting like, we were really trying to make an awesome show that like, we should still one day like pitch that to HBO or something, because it really is a funny world. It's like hilarious. Like but and
we were
Keep
in a
pitching
little
it.
over.
yeah,
We just keep
No, you're
pitching
gonna
it.
keep pitching it. F it. Down the line when I have enough money, I'm gonna fund that.
Yeah.
It's just such a great story, y'all. I mean, just the idea of like somebody who has to, design the fleshlight in different sizes and make sure that it's real to life.
Right.
We came up with what they were designing was called the audio flesh box. So you plug your headphones in the fleshlight.
Yeah. It's so bizarre.
It's beautiful.
It's just such a bizarre world that but it played South by. We met some great comedic actors.
Yeah.
We were like, you know what? We should really separate, and we should really have our like fiction. Like we're writing movies that should be over here, and we're making content for companies, and that should be over here. And we really
Nice.
because we're like, you know what? If you put your heart and soul into, videos for companies, it's just kind of you don't have any energy left over to put your heart and soul into like, what do the stuff. And we were just always been really passionate about movies,
I love that.
Yeah. There's been a lot of times in our life where it was like, okay, we're like, you got to make a choice between two things, and the first one was music and film. And it was like, I mean, in some ways maybe love music more, but it didn't seem very conducive to like having a family and just settling down. But so we chose film, and then it became like, okay, is it going to be, what are you going to do? Is it going to be like, are you going to mix your film and commercials together and try to go this advertainment route? Or are you going to like, and so we're like, no, we really want to be write and direct movies. And then, so our company, we're going to do stuff that helps us pay the bills. So for a long time, we shot weddings. Like we really didn't want to do that. We were like, this doesn't, because I do think there's only a certain amount of creativity. And like, it was like, this does not, this doesn't, the shooting weddings, though we made it our own, and it actually became, it was pretty fun. And we didn't do a lot, but we got to do these, like, we found a cool wedding planner and had some cool couples. It was like, it didn't take from the writing energy.
Got you.
Whereas if you do certain,
it actually added to it, because we were interviewing all these people and learning all their stories.
Yeah.
And so we did write a feature based on it, called the
wedding industry, because it is, it's a bizarre, it's also bizarre.
It's a speech writer, because it was about this heartbroken guy who gets rejected from this proposal and then gets hired to write wedding speeches when he's just like over love.
Genius. The thing is, I really, relate to you guys because when I was growing up, I was a DJ. I was like a straight up hip hop DJ, turntables, had my own DJ company, DJing weddings, clubs, bars. I was, DJing, LA bars and clubs in the past couple of years. And I remember when I was going to college, I had to choose between music and film too, right? And then I actually thought the same thing. I want music to be my passion, because I didn't want it to, get tainted by the industry. So I want to just do film. I'm all right getting tainted in film. And then, like you said, I get into the industry and, really see what it's all about. And, when you try to make money off of film, like you're trying to sell that script or write and direct, trying to put money with your passion, sometimes it dilutes it. And actually, like it diverts from your original passion, because you have to, you got to try to make something that's going to sell. And so I think that's great that you guys separated it, because I'm in the same world right now. I just finished writing my feature with my writing partner, just finished editing my short film on this side. And then I've got, my branded content on this side, and it helps each other out, because at the end of the day, and like you need the storytelling to help out with the storytelling for brands. But then the brands, you figure out, okay, what are people going to watch? Right. It helps you, like when you're writing your stuff, like, you know what, this is way too weird. I don't think people will actually get it. And so I love how you separated that, but also how it helps each other. And like, how are you able, when you've got, you've got the philosophy and literature, you've got acting, you've got, music, and then you've got, creating commercials. How has that all helped each other when it comes to your filmmaking and just creating films and videos in general? Like, how has that melange of creativity really influenced you?
Well, I think you hit it on the nose on one element, which was that, it's like that line of like, when you're making films, you're like, I'm writing this for me, but I'm also writing this for an audience.
Mm-hmm.
And when you're making commercials, you're like, well, I'm writing this for you, but I'm also writing this for your audience.
Mm-hmm.
And whenever you start trying to get funding for your movie, you realize you quickly have to then go into this different headspace and be like, how is this marketable and who is this marketable to? And like having that commercial experience kind of helps you, because you're like making all these commercials and seeing who that's resonating with and whatnot.
Yeah.
With as far as demographics go.
And, I think we were lucky in that we wrote, I've always written songs and still video. Mitchel, I think we lost your video. I don't know if
Oh,
okay.
No.
Oh,
Hold on. Am I back on?
Okay.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, there you go.
All
So
right,
much easier to talk to you than the video.
I know.
I know. I actually, what I do is that I put the zoom so my camera isn't in view in front of me, so I don't like look at myself like in a mirror, so I can fully integrate my conversation to both you guys. Okay,
I like that.
So I'm not talking to myself.
I think, man, I think this is a long or a tough question, but I think like the way music was pure, like, just felt like I was, wasn't writing, just like writing songs kind of just for the art of like, what's a good song? What's, we found some good mentors that still push that same thing with screenwriting and with making movies. And that was awesome about the indie scene. We almost moved to LA, and, we were in like 2008, we almost moved there, but there was a really great creative scene in Austin. And so I feel like we've been able to spend a lot of years writing stuff, knowing we got to throw it away. Like, just, hey, this is just an exercise. Like, this is, how can we write this genre? What does this genre look like? So we've just gotten to write so much stuff. And then we would often have what changed a lot of our writing game. We started having actors come hang out at our space, at our creative space, and we'd read the scripts and we'd see what was working, and we'd see what was working. How was it because writing as brothers, we have so much shared experience. It'd be like, is this doing what it's intending, or what we're trying, intending for it to do? And it's amazing when you have a room of people that, like, you're like, oh wow, that's it's not doing what we're intending it to do. And then on the other end of that spectrum, though, you realize anybody that reads your screenplay, everyone will have an opinion. Like, even if they don't know anything about film, or even if they, they will just say, you should try this, you should try this, you should try this. So there becomes on the other side of like, where's that balance of letting people into your work and getting ideas and making sure it makes sense to everyone, but then where is this spot where it becomes watered down? And as a preset, we try to really, we've made some friends that are, just this one guy, Kieran Fitzgerald, he wrote Snowden, and he wrote
Dope. Wow.
Yeah, he's just a brilliant, and he grew up learning about literature. So Kieran's been a big we just became good friends when we were all in college. We do like a morning coffee once a week, me and Josh and him and another friend, and just catch up as friends. But we just all love story. We'd start talking story. So Kieran at some point was like, okay, y'all need to like you need to be a little more selective of who you let read it, because we would go off on so many directions. So one script, we tried to do this music script. We must have wrote 40 to 60 different drafts, tried it in different versions, different genres. So we wrote so much and tried so many things, that it was like, in some ways it's not economically feasible. And it's, we were lucky to be in Austin and could live so cheap at the time. And we didn't have, families and kids, that we got to just write and write and write and write and write. And, and I guess we were always attracted to like, there was this Vulcan Video, there was this great video store here, and we would go and they had director's walls, and we got really into director's walls and just watching, all the Coppola stuff, all the Scorsese stuff, then we go to like the classic, like all of, Billy Wilder stuff, but just like, so you could see, and then, P.T. Anderson was huge at the time. I mean, we were just like loving stuff. And so we really, and Linklater has another, like, he's just got a great voice. So we got really into like, what's your voice? What's your singular voice? And we kind of like, what is our, so we tried to focus. Our friend, Andrew Bujalski moved here, and he had made a couple of, and he was shooting on film, and he made some really cool films. And he was just like, we'd be like, Andrew, we'd ask him like, what's the difference in comedy and drama? And he was really like, you should think a little less on that and a little bit more of like, what is like more of your film? What is like a Holden Brothers, like, no, not to like be pretentious, but it's like, what is your voice? What's your original voice? And there's something really cool about that. And if you look back on all these, great directors, you see, it's like, what is that? Is PTA, is that a comedy or drama? That's kind of like a PTA film with a little bit of both, and or like Billy Wilder, that's his drama, that's his comedy. And so, but it's a Billy Wilder, like you put your stamp on it. So that's really what we were trying to work on. And we didn't have to worry as much about like selling stuff into Hollywood, because we were doing all our commercials and our weddings. And so I felt like we got to find a voice. And now that we are more interested in, because, we're writing stuff that we do need, people to help, like studios or streaming services to pay for some of the content. I feel like hopefully we've gotten enough of like, knowing what we're trying to intend to do, that we can still, keep it unique, So I think time was
like
a big thing,
and having the luxury of having a friend who could give us two notes and shift the way we see a script, like Kieran, like it's like these like actors would have so many notes. As an actor, you own that character, and so you have so many ways to make that character better, and you can do that to every character. And then to have a writer who you trust, if you can find that one person who can just give you one or two notes, and you're really just figuring out like now when we write, we kind of start with like our intention and what we're trying to say, and what the theme is, and going from that direction first. Which is something we took the back end. We started with character.
Got you. I mean, that's the way you're saying it now is just how a lot of filmmakers and video creators should think about it, because I mean, nowadays people are following the trends, right? And also because you can get a Sony A7S and all these GH5s and even like a GoPro, and you can make some pretty amazing films and also shorts and TikTok videos or whatnot. Though if you're just following the trend, you're not really making your own voice. And it's the ones who have their voice and their stamp on what makes them special that's going to really stand out. And what's crazy now is that everyone's pretty special, man. Everyone, to tell you the truth, can get After Effects templates on Envato and just crush it. But now it's like you're finding that people do still gravitate towards someone who has an original voice, because I mean, there's so much noise out there. What keeps you different? I think one person, some people I've been watching online, it's like Gibson Hazard and just a really awesome like visual artists out there, where it's like blending the lines of like visual effects with storytelling and then with graphics. Like now it's just a visual medium. And so when you are working with clients or whatnot, because this is what I always ask people, because you also have to get notes from your clients. They hired you to be original. They hired you to be the creatives. How do you toe the line with those notes So you can give them what you want, but at the same time, like, you're trying to show them we're experts in this field. This is what we feel is right.
Yeah. I think or you want to answer, Josh?
Well, I have one thing I would say to that is that I don't know if it's right or wrong, our approach, but we've put so much energy into finding our voice as writers, and with our fictional content and with our clients, we go in and learn about them and extract their voice. And so every commercial we do has a different tone because it has the tone of the personality of the client, of what we love about them, of like whether they're eccentric and quirky, then it kind of has that feel, or like those things. So in some ways there was a struggle, and a lot of times of being like, we should put our voice on every single thing. And it's like, no, we should give them exactly what they need that's going to serve them, and put their voice and their style and their tone. And that, for better or worse, that's just kind of like the strategy we've taken.
Yeah. I think there's definitely people that are great at being like, this is what you need to succeed. But we very much come from the approach of like what Josh was saying, which is like, what do you, and we just said that's what we really do, is go in and ask a bunch of questions and ask the hard questions. And really, it's painful because most people in corporate world are running at like, 20,000 miles an hour. They don't have time to think about any of this stuff, but we really go in and kind of use some of our acting exercises to sit down and be like, okay, no, let's really talk about, what are you aiming to do? Here's your options. And we just let them be a part of the thing. And then the
collaborative process.
Yeah. We just want to make it, that's the one thing early on, we were just like, okay, like we realized like we need to, as equipment gets cheaper and there's more and more people that do this, we're like, what sets us apart? And it's just like being able to tell a good story and focus on story. And that, to us, that's a lot of that is research. And so that's what we do.
Storytelling is tougher than people think. It's also one of those crafts that people don't understand, that you're making something out of nothing. That's why writers I get a lot of props to writers, because for y'all, I mean, you have to come up with an idea out of nothing, and it has to be good enough for a director to be able to put on film, and then for a producer to fund, and for an actor to actually act out. And so coming up with an idea and writing it in a way where people can understand it, and to actually visually, create it and manifest it, it's tough. And when you're writing, do you feel like there's things that you do in order for you to get in that writing zone, like into your flow state? Do you listen to your music? Do you
procrastinate?
Yeah. Research the Fleshlight video campaign.
When we started with that was another reason we stayed in Austin, was this lady Dana Wheeler, and she comes from a great line. Her mentor, like, I think came from the Actors Studio, and they kind of took like the Lee Strasberg, like the method approach, and just added dream work elements to it. So we started taking that class, and you would meditate for like the first 30 to 45 minutes of the class, and just like, so I've regularly meditated for probably 16 years. Like, I love what David Lynch says. So a lot of ideas come from meditation, and I, clock 20 minutes a day, and I do it spiritually, but also because that's where a lot of ideas come from.
That's right.
But for me, it's always like, it's like shut out the world until I've done my writing. So like, I don't get on my phone. I really try to religiously not check email. So when I wake up, it's like, I have like a morning, meditation thing. I'll sometimes exercise or do something. Like, I can do spiritual stuff because that kind of like keeps you into the like realm where ideas come. But if I like email or do like a business call, it's over. Like you go too much into the like world of, that's just like, just like click, I don't know. So it's just really like keeping it sacred. I like already have a crazy long morning ritual that's like an hour. And then we did the Artist Way group with some people. I don't know if you're familiar with that.
I know about the Artist Way. Yeah, man. I love that book.
Yeah, now we've added morning pages to it. So now my wife's always like, my God, you're so high maintenance with your like, your morning rituals. But like, to me, that's half of the battle, is like,
fuck yeah.
If I can feel calm and like open when I get to the, get set down to start writing words on the page, Like that's like 90% of the work. Where if I come in all stressed out, it'll take me an hour just to like calm. So like, yeah, that's why I like to really, that's really sacred. It's like calmly getting into the space, you know, and that's what
Oh
Dana
yeah.
taught us a lot of. And a lot of actors, I think, that study that, they do meditation before they go to scenes. And so I think we try to come from or I do for sure, is come from that spot.
Yeah, because it just like in the artist's way, like you're the doorway towards like this
Yeah.
ethereal place where ideas exist, right? Heaven or whatever you like to call it, right? And your job is to bring that down towards earth in order for people to understand. You know, I know like
Yeah.
I know a lot of pragmatic people, logical people out there, like, what the fuck is he talking about? But artists, it's really the artist's way. Okay, we understand like the ideas that you can be driving, or you can be in the shower, or you can be cooking food, and an idea will pop in your head like, holy shit, that's the idea right there.
Yeah.
You run to your laptop or your notebook and you write it down, because there's something about ideas that come every once in a while that it's from the source that you can only tap into when you're in complete flow.
Right.
And being in meditation is that perfect moment to capture that.
Right.
And have you guys ever had a moment, you know, when you are coming up with an idea and you lost it, and like you frantically look back for it? Or do you feel like, you know what, it's gone, it's over, let me just find another way to find a new idea to come through?
Definitely, that has definitely happened. And sometimes you just have to have the trust that someone else is going to get that idea and bring it to life, because it feels like there's a responsibility, as you're saying, as an artist, for these things to come, and then you have that responsibility to kind of bring those to life as much as possible.
See, I felt like there's two things. There's like, you know, the mentor we were talking about that was here in Austin. He, at one point to us, was like, look, you have to live your life. You can't be at a dinner table, hear a good line. And I mean, I always carry those little moleskins on me.
Yeah, we carried
like,
moleskins for like 10 years.
Like,
you know,
you
Nice.
can't be at a dinner table, hear a good line, run to the bathroom and write the line down. Like, you have to, if you just are always using, it's a way to almost deflect the emotion and feeling. Like, you have to live. But on the other hand, like, I try to like, if I get an idea, I use my notes on my phone. Like, if it comes to me at 2 a.m, and that happens all the time, I'm like, if I don't write this down, you know, if I write it down when I show up the next day, it's, you know, too often it goes away. So I make myself get up and write that idea, like, because that's when a lot of ideas come, you laying down, you know. But like, yeah, I write them down. I mean, I have so many ideas and notes and notebooks, and I mean,
me too. And I've organized it from what used to be moleskins, and now I just have a pile of moleskins. But it's like, now it's so easy with your iPhone, where you have notes, and it's like film ideas, character ideas, film moments, and like they're all on there, so you can just search and find it, which is,
yeah. I mean, I probably have, you know, we do, and you know, we grew up together, so we have a lot of we had a lot of characters in our childhood, so we have a lot of people we met over our lives that I feel like often we're drawing inspiration from them.
Yeah.
So we have a lot of shared experiences, and we have that's where a lot of our original ideas come from. It's like, oh, this character, and, you know, tweaking them a little bit, you know. And we've had to learn to go from character to letting them, letting them speak, letting them talk to you, like letting them tell you the story. But we've had to like learn the other angle, which I think you'd learn more in school, which is like theme, and start with theme and be like, then get character. So it's not probably the most economically intelligent way to do it, is do character first, but we love character, and, you know, and we're trying to catch up with our, like, you know, thematic work and
structure.
You're TV writers.
Now we're trying to be, you know, we're shifting.
We've only done film. We've only done film for 14 years, because we just
cinephiles. We've like never,
But we finally, our friends convinced us to do this one story. It was more of a TV idea than a film idea. And I'm anti-trend. So when everyone went to TV, I was like, I'm going to TV. Like, everyone's jumping to TV, but I still think movies are I just love the, you know, the theatrical experience. And I love that you can, 2 hours, you're into a world, you learn something and you're out. Like, I will still always be
that's right.
a person.
yeah.
But I do see, I think if you can look at TV the way now, it's like the way the Odyssey is an epic. If it's just an epic story, there can be something very beautiful about it. But to me, when you like have to just start coming up with seasons, and you're just coming out of thin air, it just seems like, I'm a big on endings. So I think a lot of people, a lot of teachers don't have great endings. And that, to me, that's what I don't like about the TV experience.
Man, I love that. Because to me, I'm always a cinephile, man. I always love like in and out character arc.
Right.
Who were they before? What did they
Right.
learn? How are they different? How do we tell that theme to the world so we can inspire people to actually change? That's usually what the stories are about. There are these universal themes, hero's journey, Plato's allegory. We go super theory about it, and it's just human values at the end of the day. Like, what are these universal human truths and values that throughout the generations have been told through story? But done in different ways. And like for both of you now that you're creating films, you're of course you've got the commercials. Like, what have you found has been your theme, an overarching theme, a consistent theme that you found in your stories? Like for me, it's been the underdog. I just love underdogs, man. I love the idea of somebody who's been challenged and underestimated, and they break through adversity to become a champion. But what's some themes that you found is like very consistent in your storytelling?
That's a good question. You know what? One thing we had done is, because we're two different people and we've been writing together for so long, was whenever we were younger, we were like, you pick your favorite movie, I'll pick my favorite movie, and we'll watch it together and we'll break down every scene. We'll tell each other what we love about it, so that and we could like understand what we resonate with. And at the time, I had picked Cool Hand Luke, and Nick had picked The Godfather.
Ooh.
And I picked, no, we both picked The Godfather. I picked You Can't Take It With You, which was like a for film. And
damn.
Yeah. So
you had quite the video store, fellas.
We had
Vulcan Video here, which is amazing, and then the Paramount Film Series, which you'll learn about once COVID, once things open back up. It's incredible. It's like the all these old great movies they would screen every day during the summer, and it's so hot in Texas, so you can just escape this cold AC in the Paramount and watch these movies.
And our acting coach was really big on she was just like, y'all, you need to know film history. You need to know the 20s, the 30s, the 40s. You need to see how films, evolved over the years, and you want to see how, people pick up on Cary Grant, and see what Brando's done to that. See, you just want to really know this stuff, because it's like history, it's studying history. So,
and I will say too, it's like, and we would pick a director and watch their movies from the first film to their last film, But going back to your question, I think, which is really helpful, I was going to say, but one thing that I think a theme that goes through all our films a lot of times is someone who is trying to figure out like how to balance intimacy and money in their life.
Wow.
It's kind of like how to have friends and be a philosopher, and then how to make money. And like, there's two sides of us that both exist, and either one you can let go of or latch onto in any moment.
Yeah. I would say that we've all, there's the danger of writing the same movie over and over.
Yeah.
So, that's what, because our first film was definitely, Arrested Development, like type of character. And those characters are there's something appealing about that, of like, I don't know, when you're growing up, there's something funny about seeing someone, like a Chaplin character just bang their head against the wall over and over, and not, because we like comedy, we like watching people. I don't know. It's just it's like something about, life's really hard. So if you don't laugh at it sometimes, it's just too painful to bear, So I think we've loved watching characters just refute, like watching the comedy of, trying to be an adult, but you don't want, but I think we're finally starting to get into true stories, and trying to like look at adapting, some true stories after 14 years of writing. Like, we've probably written 20 to 30 original feature ideas, something, versions of them, maybe closer to definitely 15 to 20, but you know,
But that
and
I was gonna
ideas outlined. But those are ones, because I read Coppola once said, like, you need to write the end. You need to, like, if you start your script, you need to write
nice.
the end. And that was a big deal because it's so easy to be like, this is dumb, this isn't going anywhere. But if you have a first draft, it's so much easier to do a second draft. You know,
Nice.
there's been a very few times where they haven't ended, and like very few. There's one that still drives me crazy, but like we really try to write the end, you know, and
That's beautiful, because I think a lot of filmmakers and writers, even for myself, you get caught up in the second act. You know, it's just like
yeah.
you get your first act done, 10 pages. Yeah,
Mhm.
let's get 10 pages out. Let's get into fun and games, and then you get into
Yeah.
fun and games, and then you get, of course, that low moment. You know, the dark soul, the night, and it's like,
Yeah.
all right, how are we gonna wrap this together so there's a actually good character arc and the story makes sense, and all these little
Right.
story points to put in the middle all tie up. It's tough, you know, because it's almost like you got to put up or shut up. You know, you got to make
Yeah,
this thing
yeah.
work,
Dude, and then you realize
Second act, man.
how
That's
hard it is to make a film. Because, like, you know, you watch so many films in your life and you think, like, okay, this can't be too hard. Like, you know,
right?
and then we, like, at one point we were like, we just have to go make a feature because we just been writing so much. So we
Yeah.
went and we were like, we wrote, that was like the quickest film we wrote was this film called The Golden Rut. And
Mhm.
we like just we made it for like nothing because we felt like at that point we need to
Yeah.
go make something, and features are so much different than shorts. It's just a whole different beast.
Yeah,
Mhm.
So
is.
that at that point we did that, and like, golly, that was so hard, not just to make, but then to like finish it and be like,
Edit
here
it.
you go, world, and edit it, and then like here's a piece of art to then get like have to deal with the criticism of that experience, you know, and then you just realize you're like, I can't even critique a movie anymore because I'm just like, hey, congrats, like you made a film, good job, like,
Right, it's the
you
same thing
know,
when, like, when you hear about those filmmakers, the young filmmakers like the Ryan Cooglers, who like just hit it off the bat, and you're like, dang, you went from like Fruitvale to Creed, and all of a
yeah,
sudden, like, but you know, Black Panther, like, damn, good for you.
right,
You
I
know,
know,
and then you realize, you know, they probably had their struggles too, right?
yeah,
And it's just like you can't keep comparing. And but I love hearing that from you, because features, to me, it's still have to direct mine. This is the year I'm looking for funding for mine, and I'm excited. And I'm like you, I'm like waiting for that the moment where I have to finish it, and I'm just gonna have to tell myself, just get it done. Um,
yeah,
but you know
yeah,
what, gentlemen, I know you're busy, and I know, like, we're almost there to an
Yeah.
hour, but I can talk with y'all for a while. I'm gonna have to come visit your offices when
come on,
everything
man,
opens up, and I'd love to just keep chatting with y'all.
dude, absolutely. If there's any way we can help
Yeah.
kind of bring you into the Austin community too in any way with the actors and all that stuff, we'd love to help
I'll
help
love
out.
that.
So
Yeah, no, I
yeah,
mean, look, we're gonna do this. We're gonna do Flesh
yeah,
Life. Fleshlight's happening. Um,
Oh my
but
God.
before we go, and I'd love for you to just kind of give advice for a lot of those young writers and creators, just creators and artists out there who are trying to balance the life of making money and the intimacy of the art, you know, making art, but also having to make money to pay the rent. You know, what's your advice to a lot of those folks out there?
Man,
Mhm.
what do you got?
Well, I mean, I don't I don't know. We're still figuring
Deep.
it out, but I feel like the only advice I could give is the advice that was given to us, which was by Christofferson. When at one time when Nick had asked him, like, you know, what advice do you give for a young songwriter, which I feel like is similar to filmmaker in a lot of ways, and he just said, if you're in it for the right reasons, you'll be okay.
Nice.
You know, just stick. And then another advice we got him was from an actor, and his advice was just stick with it.
Yeah.
If you
And
just stick with it, you know,
yeah.
that's the only chance you have.
That's
Who
right.
gave it the stick with it advice?
It was this actor in one of Bob's films.
Oh yeah.
I don't think it was Offerman, but it was
Corrigan or something.
yeah, yeah.
Might be
Yeah. I mean,
Confucius.
and I would
Confucius.
Confucius
just
say,
be, just
stick with
be.
it.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
would, I'd say two things. Like, one is you should like kind of, what helped me was write out a budget and be like, what do I need to live on? What is the
Nice.
bare? Because if you don't know what you need to live on, you'll just chase money forever. And you can't,
right.
if you just chase money, you're going to end up running out of energy. I really believe you only have X amount of creative energy, like a day or whatever. So like, what do you need to live on? What do you need to make a month to pay your bills? You really got to like that's where your freedom lies. If you say, this is what I need, oh, cool, I got this, okay, creativity is what's so I think that's a big deal. And I had one other thing, but I think that's
That's
I got one. I got one.
yeah.
Going back to the artist way. It's like, if you haven't done that book and that 12-week series, yeah, I say, like, if you can, get a group of people together at some point once COVID is in a better spot, and just go through that process. Because I feel
That's
like
right.
that book is so great for anyone who, like, everyone's an artist, like everyone has some
Mhm.
form of art inside of them, and it's a matter of just finding that belief in yourself or tapping into what that voice wants to say. So,
And I would
That's
say
right.
too, this is where I'd say, look, you got, like, that's what our Josh's godfather, who was Willie's harmonica player, told us, was like, look, find the people that you like what they're doing, see if you can take them to lunch and pick their brain. You'll get turned down a ton, but it's kind of humbling, and you got to walk.
Kevin Bacon shot us down.
We tried
Oh,
we
he's
ran to
missing out,
bacon.
yo. He's missing out.
We ran to bacon. Like, can we buy you lunch? Like, no, absolutely not. And we don't
Sorry,
care.
guys.
But so you'll get shot down a ton. But like you, I can't believe you brought that up. It's fun. Like, just finding people that are like you like what they're doing. They don't have to be, don't have to be Spielberg, but like finding people you look up to, like, how do you get there? How do you make some of this stuff? Like, how do you have real pathways to getting, how can it be a reality? And then someone else too was like, look, figure out where you want to be in 10 years, in 5 years, 3 years, and 1 year, because that's the other thing. It becomes like, oh my God, I got to make this year. When if you really look at where, 10 years, it's easier to set some goals and reach them. We had a 10-year goal and COVID hit, and it's like, damn, this definitely throws us off, but we'll probably reach our 10-year goal, where like our, and then so I think that's important, is just to give yourself, like, creating realistic goals, because it's so easy to be like, I gotta make it, and you want that in that fire, but it's like, how do you just also be like, you know what, I want to make it, but I want to have a full life, which means I can't just do film 24/7. Like, I want to, so what are some ways to set realistic goals? I think looking at 10 years is a huge deal.
Man, that's sage advice, y'all. Like, just doing it, and really finding a group of people, finding mentors, what your monthly budget should be, that monthly nut, and also just end of the day having goals. 10 years is a great way to put things, and also having the 5 and the 1, and all of that together.
Three.
Yeah,
5,
3.
1.
Yeah, 1, 3, 5, 10.
1, 3, 5, 10. Nice. And then from there, you chunk it down to monthly, quarterly,
Right.
and then you go down to
What's
minutes,
by the minute? Like,
second. Like, I should be brushing my teeth.
This is
right
my
now.
1 second goal right now.
But it's
Be
intention.
present.
Mitchell, how much of it is intention? Like, if I want to have a good day of work tomorrow, I gotta, like, if I want to have a good day of writing, I gotta, like, kind of start off with that, for like, I got to do some things to prepare me for that day tomorrow. It's
true. I mean, I have to bookend my days every day. Like, this morning, I told because yesterday I did the mistake of waking up and open up you're looking at your phone, and you get that email that's like jolts you up, and you run to it's the worst way. And I said this morning, fuck that. I'm going to meditate, journal, exercise, and drink my green smoothie and read my book. And that's my 5 steps. And I'm floating for the rest of the day. And like, having this conversation at the end, it just makes it all better, y'all.
Turn off your phone.
Same here.
Turn off a lot of the notifications you don't need, I would say, is huge.
Yeah.
Who needs an email notification?
Seriously, I put it outside in the living room, and then it forces me to get up, and like I don't have like that light that goes off next to my bed. But then like I get up, I look at the alarm, and you get that note. I should take out that notification, because I saw that notification. I'm like,
Turn that
motherfucker.
off.
Yes.
Out of here.
Turn that off.
Notification. Turn that notification off, man.
Yeah. All right, y'all. Well, I know you guys gotta head out, but thank you so much. And before we go, can you let people know where to find you online and how could we support?
Sure. Mishnoon.com. I know that. And we've kind of been off of.
We're pretty bad at social media. We
have.
Okay, you have a website?
Yeah. We got a website. Yeah. Mishnoon.
And then I think our it's the Brothers Holden is our Instagram, which we're not on. haven't been on a ton because we've been just writing, and I'm not going to post the pictures of writing because that's just it's just not going to happen. But
I know.
messages on there, the brothers Holden or Mishnoon, and
Nice.
Mishnoon at Gmail if you want to contact us
there you
directly.
go. Best wishes to everyone out there, man. It's been it's been a creative time, but I know it's been a hard time for a lot of people. So
thank you, my
friend.
friends.
Thank you, Mitchell. Thank you so much for including us in this.
No, I appreciate you.
Thank you for listening to the Creative Haven podcast. And if you dig it and like what you heard today, please give us a nice review and rating and share it with one of your friends that you think needs some creative inspiration. You can always find more content and resources at thecreativehaven.com and hit me up on Instagram at Mitchel Dumlao. And if you want to reach out, collab, or ask any questions, you have my permission to slide into my DMs. So keep positive, continue to learn and hone your craft, and create all day. Salamat.